Good morning. Good morning. The heading is Truth and Lies. What the governments of this country have done is tell you the truth on one hand and lies on the other. Why have I done this video? Because with the manipulation of words, they've taken control of this country. And they used what we did to prove it. 1967, we had a referendum to give Aboriginals or Native peoples exactly the same voting rights as us, all other rights the same as us, but they had to remove something. And they manipulated everything. They knew what they were doing. They were fully aware of what they were doing. And unfortunately, Kangaroo Jack and his mate, who are mouthing off about this, that, and the other thing, it involves you as well. You won't listen, so you can't see. And there's none so blind as those that will not see. Now, what did they use? Why did they use this section? And it's very simple. It's right here. 26. 51, subsection 26. 26 is Roman numerals XXV1. The people of any race other than the Aboriginal race in any state for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. Bear in mind 51 is exclusive to the Federal Parliament. And this is what, because it's under Part 5, powers of the Parliament, not the states' powers of the Parliament. Now, that sounds like an ambiguous thing, but it's not, because all you have to do, and they wanted to change things. So what they did is lie. How do we know they lied? All right. So let's go to the red annotated Constitution, which starts to give you an idea. Section 51, subsection 26. The people of any race other than the Aboriginal race in any state for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. Now, what I've got to be is very clear how I put this to you. In the Bill of 1891, the following subclause was comprised among the exclusive powers of the Federal Parliament, which is what it's talking about, which is what I just said. The affairs of the people of any race with respect to whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws not applicable to the general community, but so that this power shall not extend to authorise legislation with respect to the affairs of the Aboriginal native race. The reason they say Aboriginal native race is we're all native to this country once we're born here. Not the originals is what Aboriginal means. So they've knocked you out there. Native race in Australia and the Maori race in New Zealand. At the Adelaide session, the subclause was introduced and passed in substantially the same words. At the Melbourne session, a debate occurred on the question whether this power ought to be exclusive so that the state parliament, in the absence of federation, would be unable to make special laws in respect of alien races within their territory. Eventually the subclause was omitted on the understanding that it would be placed among the concurrent powers of the Parliament. Accordingly, before the first report, the subclause was inserted in its present form. This subsection does not refer to immigration. That is covered by subsection 26. 7. It enables the Parliament to deal with the people of any alien race after they have entered the Commonwealth, to localise them within defined areas, to restrict their migration, to confine them to certain occupations, or to give them special protection and secure their return after a certain period to the country whence they came. In the draft bill of 1891, this subsection appeared as the first of a group of 3 subjects with reference to which the Parliament was assigned exclusive legislative power. That's what I'm talking about, exclusive to the Federal Parliament. It is now placed in the list of powers generally described as concurrent. That is to say, the states may occupy the ground until the federal authority interferes and displaces them. In other words, passes a law. 109 takes out any state one. A subsection can only exclude this action of state legislatures respecting the people of any race. Just put this into your mind. When the Federal Parliament declares by legislation that such race is a race for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. Look at what the race is. Just look at it and keep it in your head. Before such legislation, the state parliament will be free to pass laws concerning any part of their resident population, including the people of any particular race, coloured or otherwise. But as soon as the federal parliament, by legislative intervention, has shown that it has dealt with or contemplates dealing with the people of a particular race by special laws, the power to discriminate in respect of that race will thenceforth be exclusively vested in it, and the state legislatures will be deprived of jurisdiction under the 14th Amendment, and then it goes into American, which we don't need to agree with. Now, that's our Red Book. This is our Green Book. Their Green Book. The reason I'm reading from both, because Smart Alec and Toomey said they're the same book. No, they're not. But this wording is very similar. The people of any race other than the Aboriginal race in any state for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. So if you disregard the annotations for the red one and only go to this one, historical note. In the Bill of 1891, the following subclause was comprised among the exclusive powers of the Federal Parliament: the affairs of people of any race with respect to whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws not applicable to the general community, but so that this power shall not extend to authorise legislation with respect to the Aboriginal native race, again, in Australia, and the Maori race in New Zealand. Everyone knows that the Maori race in New Zealand are not the original people. And they've told you straight out, not original native race in Australia. At the Adelaide session, a subclause was introduced and passed in substantially the same words. In the Melbourne session, a debate occurred on the question whether this power ought to be exclusive, so that the state parliaments, in absence of federation, would be unable to make special laws in respect of alien races within their territory. Eventually, the subclause was omitted. Was unable? There's your first mistake, on the understanding that it would be placed among the concurrent powers of the Parliament. Accordingly, before the first report, the subclause was inserted in its present form. This subsection does not refer to immigration, that it is covered by whatever. It enables the Parliament to deal with the people of any alien race after they have entered the Commonwealth, to localise them within defined areas, to restrict their migration, to confine them to certain occupations, or to give them special protection and secure their return after a certain period to the country whence they came. in the draft bill and so on, because you don't need to go, you can go and read that, but when you get down further, this subject section can only exclude the action of state legislation respecting the people of any race. So the states can't rely on it. What this has actually said, the Aboriginal Heritage Act of Western Australia or any other state is gone down the toilet. They had no power to do it because the federal parliament's already legislated in relation to Aboriginals. When the federal parliament declares by legislation that such race is race, and they have, for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws before such legislation, the state parliaments will be free to pass laws concerning any, and they didn't pass it before this, what they did. That's why they wanted the referendum of the resident population, including the people of any particular race, coloured or otherwise. But as soon as the federal parliament, by legislative intervention, has shown that it has dealt with or contemplates dealing with the people of a particular race by special laws, the power to discriminate in respect of that race will thenceforth be exclusively vested in it, and the state legislatures will be deprived of jurisdiction. You understand what I've just said? They've given themselves the right in the interpretation, and they're trying to say then that we've got a problem. No, we don't have the problem, because the Aboriginal Heritage Act is covered by the people of any race, because they told you, and I've explained, and you should be aware, with respect to the affairs of the Aboriginal native race, Queen Victoria says every native shall be fed, every native shall be housed, every native shall be clothed, every native shall be given a small amount of money. She did not say Aboriginal natives. So what they've done with their annotations to both constitutions is they created another name from a factual name of not original. That's why it says not Aboriginal or not an original native race in Australia. Now, am I correct? Well, let's see. The Constitution, as altered to October 1986. Section 51, subsection 26. The people of any race for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. What did they take out? What did we give them by the 1967 referendum? We, 90.2% of the people in this country, 92%, voted to give Aboriginal or natives in fact, the same authority as us, the same voting rights, everything the same as us, nothing extra. And how did they get rid of your authority, your rights, whether you're Aboriginal or not? Listen carefully to what I'm just saying. And it goes back to 26. The people of any race for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. That's a whole lot of us. Black and white, green, yellow, whatever you want to be, wherever you come from. Can you now see what I'm talking about? I don't care what you say, Kangaroo Jack and the other person. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not against you. I'm on the same side as you. But you two saying we should be repatriated back to where we came from. Well, the people where I am are native. And when they did a DNA test, where'd they come from? Polynesia. All these peanuts have to do, these things that are sitting in our parliament have to do, is deem you must have a DNA test to prove who you are. I can see who you are. I know these people. I know a lot of native people who are in this country. I do know they're not the original inhabitants. They've got a referendum from us, the 1999 referendum. Listen to this piece. They asked us, do you accept Aboriginals were the first inhabitants of Australia? Do you accept the rule of law? Do you want to continue, in other words, the Crown and everything in this country? We said yes to that and no to the whole lot. We don't want a republic. We want to retain everything. But we did not say, by saying no, you took out the Mabo decision. It was based on Terra Nautilus. Don't care. It was based on the fact that Aboriginal natives were the first inhabitants of this country, and we said no. And everybody voted no. They didn't like it, so they went about and they put in your restraining little things that they wanted. So what did they put in? Corporate courts? Yes. Then they changed it to maritime courts. And what is it now? Courts sitting under maritime law as courts of presumption. Maritime law, you get a hearing. Courts of presumption, you don't. Why not? This is why I don't give a hang who you are, what nationality you are. You must comprehend what I'm saying. These people have stolen this country. And you can't see it because you don't want to. These, by lies, stealth, fraud, treason, and everything else I've spelled out to you, have taken everything you got. Do you have titles to your land? No, they've got it. They sold the titles office to a super fund. Now they're going to come back and take money out of that super fund so it collapses. Who gets the company? Where did it come from? The people who sold it. They're going to get it back. And you can't see that. You cannot see the government would be so bent and criminally responsible for everything they've done. So how are they criminally responsible? They made themselves criminally responsible without even knowing it through their own legislation. I'll come back to that instant because you need to comprehend exactly what I'm saying. They're telling everybody soon they're going to cut out the old age pension. Well, Section 23 says you can't. Invalid and old age pension, whether you're collecting the tax on it, which you are, 7.5% per week on everybody's wages to pay for our pension, so we're paying for it, but you aren't. You can't get invalid and old age pensions unless the Constitution says so. If an authority isn't granted, it's denied, remains with us. Wake up. Wake up to what I'm saying, Kangaroo Jack and your little mate in New South Wales who keeps mouthing off about sending us back. You are promoting what the Aboriginal corporations want. Complete control of this country by a few people. You can't have it. Why not? Because we're all born here. This country, its original name is Beulah Land. Who owns this country? Everybody who's born here. Same as if you were born in any other country. Doesn't matter where your parents come from. In fact, mine haven't been my parents, their parents. Mine goes back 7 generations. Did we want to come here? No, we were forced to. From all different places except for one. Charles Yelverton O'Connor's Rellies, which is my great uncle. Yeah. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. They changed a perfectly legitimate referendum, according to us, the people, 90.2% voted to give you exactly what we got. Did you get it? No. What we actually got was the opposite. They took everything off every race of people in this country and give the authority to the federal parliament. Listen to me and listen to what I'm saying. I'll say it again so it sinks in. The people of any race doesn't define anything. What did it take out? Other than the Aboriginal race in any state. What did it take out? The non-originals. And you're claiming to be that. You declared it. They've accepted it and passed laws for the Aboriginals. Aboriginal Heritage Act. It just went down the toilet. Gone. All your land claims, gone. This is not about what I think you should have. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with what every other Australian thinks. But, go back to your preamble. Whereas the people of New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia and Western Australia joined together in one indissoluble federation of the Commonwealth of Australia. Clause 6 of the Constitution. New Zealand is part of New South Wales. It is an external territory that they took out as one of their so-called laws in the Acts Interpretation Act. They couldn't take it out because that would interfere with the Constitution and pro tanto be invalid, automatically be invalid. I didn't come down the last show. I spent a lot of time looking, remembering and understanding what you said. You know, there was a Chinese guy or a Malaysian or whatever in New South Wales on the news about 19, 20 years ago. I remember it clear because it's really sunk in that one day when all these other races come into this country, which is what Albanese's doing now, loading us up the eyeballs, we're going to be everybody, no matter who, are going to be filthy white trash. Filthy, dark trash. Who are they referring to? Everybody who was born here. That's who he was referring to. He said, it's not me, I don't believe in it, and I can see it coming. Wake up. A prediction? Yeah, a real forward insight to what these peanuts are doing. I believe he knew. I know the seniors in every political party know exactly what I'm talking about because they're backing it up. They put all the stuff in place to do it. Then Albo, good little communist, communists hate religion. They hate the control. They want the control. So what was he doing yesterday? Promoting the new Pope. Oh, what a wonderful person he's going to be. No. He's the head of the Roman Church. He's not the head of the Catholic Church. Is there a difference? Yes. The 1650 revolution in England kicked out the Catholic Church for a protesting church following exactly the same principles, except they were allowed to marry, and they followed the teachings to a great extent of Martin Luther, who said what the Catholic religion, what the Roman religion rather, was teaching was wrong. That's why they set that in place. What have they done? Oh, we got the Anglican Catholic Corporations Act of 1973. Sure, some of these things are right in your face. Where do you hide it? You're looking around. Where is it? Under your nose. I'm just putting it to you. If you do not get, and they can't take that out of their nice little book, if they have, they knock out their own act. No to round 2 of the voice. They can't even present round 2 of the voice or anything to do with it if you say no. How do we say no? Don't pay taxes. Stop these peanuts coming into our businesses and buying things. Are you a politician? Yes, get out. I don't serve you anymore. Can you do it? They did it to Dan Andrews. He didn't like it. Could you join the golf club? No, kicked him out. Grow some balls. Stand up and tell these people, no, You are stealing everything that belongs to everybody. And stop running around saying, oh, this is our country, this is ours, this is that. It's not. It's not. Because if our Constitution is not in place, understand this, I don't care if you're Aboriginal, Native, I don't care if you're Chinese, Japanese, Father Christmas, or Pom, or Irish, or English, or Welsh, or anything else. This is the only protection we have, and the Constitution derived from it. Because after the 1st of January 1901, we lost protection. Why did we? Western Australia never put its Constitution in place. Go back to what I said. We needed 6 states to form the first federal parliament. The saving grace for all of this, which knocks out that 1967 referendum. I know there's going to be people saying you're trying to knock out the referendum that protects Aboriginals. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. If it protected Aboriginals, and I'm telling you and showing you it does not. I'll repeat it again. The people of any race. Now, for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. Who decides that? A treasonous, lying... Oh, they get me so angry, these people. They have lied to you for so long. The truth is what I'm putting to you. And I'll go back and explain it again because they couldn't take it out of this. They had to put it in. The only thing they had to put in. The rest they could ignore. What does it refer to? I'll read it again so that you can understand. This is the footnote to the bill. The bill was the people of any race. And what they've got now, for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws, because they took out the bit using the referendum. Now, the affairs of people of any race with respect to whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws not applicable to the general community. So they can single out general mobs. But so that this power shall not extend to authorise legislation with respect to the affairs of the Aboriginal native race in Australia and the Maori race in New Zealand. What did it just say? Go back to their 1986 version. Go back and understand. I'm repeating it several times so that you will sink in. They took out natives, the people of any race, for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. And I say again, they decide. They decide. You do not. Now, this is a little bit of stuff I got from a few people. Acts Interpretation Act 1901. Act number 2 of 1901. Bear in mind, we've never had a lawful federal parliament, so this act is actually invalid. In any act, unless the contrary intention appears, the Commonwealth shall mean the Commonwealth of Australia. B. Australia includes the whole of the Commonwealth. Everything. Acts Interpretation Act 1973, number 79 of 1973. Interesting. To amend the Acts Interpretation Act 1901-1966, asserted to 19th of June 1973, being enacted by the Queen, the Senate and the House of Representatives of Australia as follows. Of Australia? What happened to the Commonwealth of Australia? Let me just throw that out. So what happened to in any act unless the contrary intention appears, the Commonwealth shall mean the Commonwealth of Australia. Australia includes the whole of the Commonwealth. But that's not what it's saying. Being enacted by the Queen, the Senate and the House of Representatives of Australia. Not the Commonwealth of Australia. So who's Australia? The Australian government. 1973, they created the Australian government with its ABN number. Constitution and official definitions. Section 4. 1. Section 17 of the Principal Act is amended by omitting paragraph A and B and substituting the following paragraph. So they've admitted with this, understand this, in any act unless the contrary intention appears, A, the Commonwealth shall mean the Commonwealth of Australia, B, Australia includes the whole of the Commonwealth. And then they said, Section 17, what I just read, of the Principal Act is amended, A, by omitting paragraph A and B and substituting the following paragraph. A, Australia, or the Commonwealth, means the Commonwealth of Australia when used in a geographical sense does not include the external territory. So how has this then got a problem? What's the external territories? What did they do at that time? Dump New Guinea. Until there was a fight, they dumped the island. No, the one above us. Lord Howe Island they tried to take, it was not theirs. Then they created another little wonderful thing, the Australian Electoral Office Act 1973, number 87 in 1973. See, the Parliament didn't exist, so they couldn't produce that. An act relating to the administration of electoral laws. Sorry, there's an imperial law that does that. If you look at your constitution and you read it, it says, even if the Colonial Laws Validity Act had never ever been enacted, but it was, no colony can ever pass a law getting rid of, interfering with, altering or touching imperial law. Imperial law lays out clearly, the only way you can have an election. They've done this so they can give it to their political parties. Who did it? The Labor Party. Who backed them up? The Liberal Party, followed by the Greens and all the rest of them. Now, listen to this. Being enacted by the Queen, the Senate and the House of Representatives of Australia, not the Commonwealth of Australia, because they removed it with what I said previously. This Act may be cited as the Australian Electoral Office Act. There's no Australian. It has to be Commonwealth. There's your first problem. This Act shall come into operation on a date to be fixed by proclamation. Never ever happened because they didn't have anyone to do it. In this Act, officer means an officer referred to in Section 4. There is hereby established an office to be known as the Australian Electoral Office, which shall consist of the officers referred to in this section and the staff referred to it in Section 15. There shall be A. a Chief Australian Electoral Officer, B. a Deputy Chief Australian Electoral Officer, and C. an Australian Electoral Officer for each state. 3. The Chief Australian Electoral Officer shall, under the Minister, control the Australian Electoral Office. Who's the Minister? Is he a member of the Executive? No. No. As I've said before, they have given all the ministerial offices to a cabinet. A cabinet. Owned by the political power that they allege we gave them authority by voting. Owned by. How? Through the Commonwealth of Australia Proprietary Limited, registered in the US Securities Exchange Commission, and a subsidiary company known as the Commonwealth of Australia LLC. It's a trading company. Under that, through the Foreign Agents Registration Act of America, they put all our public utilities which they sold to that company through there, brought them back into Australia. How did they do it? Under the Corporations Act 2001, another one of their unlawful acts because they didn't exist in law. Keep your mind on what I'm saying. Stop trying to change the idea. Stick to what I'm saying, because this is very, very important. Dick Yardley says, every time you vote to stay as a slave to the treasonous political party that doesn't represent you. Wake up. Now, I filed writs of mandamus, along with a heap of other people, quite a while ago. What did we get back from the High Court? Proof that they are all traitors. They are not working for us. How did we do it? Ruth Cheatham sent me back a notice first. It was her, and I've got it. It says you can't file it because under 75.5, which you filed, it's a prerogative writ against the office of the Commonwealth, and none of them are officers of the Commonwealth. Interesting. And that includes every politician in Western Australia. If you spent the time, you would know that every single person in the public service is required by law to swear the oath contained in the Constitution before their oath of office. 42 of the Constitution requires every senator, every member of the House of Representatives must, before they take their office, swear the oath of allegiance contained in the Constitution. Is that clear? It should be. Go to HCA 44 of 2006. What did Michael Kirby say? Not only, no, you didn't say every, you said not only permanent judges, but temporary judges, before they swear their oath of office, must swear the oath in the Constitution. Permanent and temporary. Why? Because Section 72 of the Constitution says so. That's why. So his judgment was correct. He also said several times, no Parliament, by preambular assertion, can speak an authority into being when none existed in law. To say the Parliament is supreme is a lie. To say it's sovereign, it's a lie. To create us as, for the purpose of your maritime courts and your courts of presumption. Why a court of presumption? Before I go on, because you need to understand this. Under the Corporations Act 2001, you're an object, a thing, or a person. You are dead. You are in a ship floating on the sea of commerce. So they can instrument maritime law, which means the captain, being the idiot sitting on the bench in the court who has not sworn a lawful oath, determines your fate. Determines with what you say is lawful. Determines if what you say is the truth. Gone. You just lost. It's just gone. They just took it off you. Now, all under the treasonous political parties change constitutional definitions equals treason, and backed up by these satanic, treasonous, illegitimate people. Now, the Judiciary Act 1903, every justice of the High Court shall, before proceeding to discharge the duties of his office, take an oath or affirmation of allegiance in the form in the schedule to the Constitution, and also an oath or affirmation in the form following. I, whoever do swear that I will well and truly serve our sovereign Lord, the King of the office, in the office of Justice of the High Court of Australia, and I will do right to all manner of people according to law, without fear or favour, affection or ill will, so help me God. IAB, the same thing, do solemnly and sincerely. The scum below have not sworn their oath to the above. Where were the guardians of the constitutions, which is your police, and your governors and your Governor General? All courts sold their souls and are paid in counterfeit money, and it is fiat money. Their God, the illusion of wealth, and that's what it is. An update on the soulless, pathetic, fraudulent scum, satanic, treasonous political party, top judiciary, which is all the people in the High Court. All these soulless, pathetic, fraudulent scum sit above every court in their paper Australia to enforce this satanic, sovereign, independent and federal nation, which we are not. Now, why aren't we? because Clause 8 of the Constitution says when the colonies become states, the Boundaries Act no longer applies. So there goes your Electoral Act, which sets boundaries. That's part of it. The fact that we have an imperial law for elections. Now, what locks all that law in? Simply, go back to the same section. It says, however, when the Commonwealth is established, it's established as a self-governing colony of England. Has that ever gone to referendum? Yeah, 1999. But it couldn't even be put there. We never had a lawful federal parliament. That's why this person has put every court in their paper Australia to enforce their satanic, sovereign, independent federal nation. You don't have one. Did we give it to you? No, then it doesn't exist. You don't get to decide. You don't get to decide. Now, just so you know about the Electoral Act and its rubbish, 2025 federal election writs under Australian Electoral Commission, Deb Leonard. It is not required, and to 2025 federal election writs Australian Electoral Commission, it is not required, not by electoral laws or the Constitution. It has previously been stated by some that the absence of the Great Seal of the reigning British monarch means that election writs are invalid, and by extension the election itself is invalid. That's from the AEC itself. Now, you know, you need to understand a lot of things. This is what you're going to love. House of Representatives for the Electoral District Division in our state of Victoria, part only from supplied writ documents. So it's actually their documents. Witnessed by Sam Mostyn as Governor-General, but actually issued by Don Farrell, not the Governor-General. This in the face of it is electoral fraud, as it would be beyond my comprehension that this could be a mistake. Don Farrell being the Minister for Trade with China, isn't that nice? He signed the electoral writ. It may be the case that you, Bruce and Deb Lennon, have just exposed on the biggest electoral scams and treasonous frauds in Australian electoral history, and they did. That's exactly what they did. Now you've got a problem. Huge problem. Now, what I want you to do, I don't care if you want to believe me, the Constitution's there, all the law to complete it and understand it is there. Go to this Constitution and see what it was, see what they've done. You'll find out they turned every single race of people, because they've classified us. They've classified us as non-Australians, and yet we joined together in the Federation. They've classified Aboriginal natives, not original Australians. Not original. Why? So they could get their little agenda through. You vote for the Voice, and this is not scaremongering. Worry about it. Jackie, John Howard was committing treason. Every single one of them. Don't try singling up people, because what I'm trying to do, every politician since Federation, either knowingly or unknowingly, committed treason. Some didn't. Some were kept in the dark and fed nothing but bull dust, treated as mushrooms. Wake up. You must understand. Did Judge Kirby obstruct justice a couple of times? Yes. Did I say he was totally lawful in everything? No. Because he, along with everyone else, knew and sat contrary to the Constitution. He sat after 1979 when they removed the separation of powers between the Parliament and the High Court with the High Court of Australia Act, designed precisely to do that. As I said before, Culleton did a very good thing in revealing, by way of the so-called Attorney General, that there's a government department that makes the rules of the High Court. What have they just said? They got control of the High Court, which is what Julia, whatever its name is, the Labor Prime Minister, wanted. Gillard. She wanted that. We charged her with treason. 23 charges. Hang on. Kevin, you are 100% correct. And that's what I'm trying to get through the heads of Kangaroo Jack and his mate. I hope they look at what I'm saying, because what you just said is absolutely correct. It is, we need to come together as Australia. We're as the people. That's what I'm talking about. I put it for you. Can't send me back in pieces to different countries. So what Kangaroo Jack's mate decided is nonsense. Where did he come from? You do a DNA test if you come part from India. We know everything except for the Negritos and the people dating all the way back to the Egyptians. They were all here before the basic Aboriginal race now, or native race now. Everybody born here since long before Federation are native to this country. Everyone born here. Look up the definition of native. Who is indigenous? Us. Who owns all these lands? All of us. All of us. What the Constitution did is lay out a system whereby we could all purchase an area of land and hold it away from the Crown. How have we got a Lord King of England? That Lord King does not exist. I'm not talking about King Charles. I'm talking about the mythical one. Because Queen of Australia had no heirs and successors, so where did he come from? What happened then to the Royal Styles and Titles Act that everybody refers to? It doesn't exist. There was never any Queen of Australia. There's Monarch of Australia. She doesn't own the land. The area of land is vested in the Crown, which is God, in British law. Go look it up. Go look it up and understand what the 1650 revolution produced. Something that no one's ever bothered to look at properly. It's all there in law. Now, I'm not going to bog you down with a heap of stuff, because what I've given you is huge. And you need to sit down. What's this? Judge Tottle and Solomon claim that they do not have to show their oath. How can we trust what they are there for without it? They're there unlawfully, because if he doesn't produce his oath, he doesn't have one. That's why he won't do it. Now, Cat Thomas, all those so-called laws, implementation of the British Empire, so abolishing Aboriginal law and ownership, so Aboriginal people's rights have suffered dearly, nearly towards extinction. Cat Thomas, wake up. That's not the case. That's not the case. They're not Aboriginals, they're natives. Aboriginal natives. Understand, they were born here just like us. How do they go back thousands of years and take control? Otherwise we go and we clean the top of Africa and give it all to the Hebrews. Is that what you want? Is that what you want, to clear everyone out of here? But you've got to go too, unless you can prove that your ancestors go back to the beginning of time, and you can't. The Egyptians were here, then the Pygmies, and in some places, and earlier on, some of the giants, and they found the skeletons that prove it. I'm not telling you lies or dreams. You come on abolishing Aboriginal law and ownership. Now, I'll give you a little secret, Cap, what you haven't even looked at. When Whitlam brought in his version of what should happen, he told all the Aboriginal tribes and communities, you can have your Aboriginal law. Guess what? They didn't want it. Because it is brutal. I'm not going to say what it is. I know what it is because I've spoken to a lot of proper Aboriginals who aren't there for money or anything else. They want to live a normal life, left alone, and able to honour their own sacred sites. And I've always pushed, that's what you've got to give them. You have to. Can they control all the land? No. Because the land always owns them, not the other way around. You can say it's not. Go back to the truth and not what you dream. Don't go back to the books that are written. Don't go back to that stupid map that was only done a few years back somewhere in South Australia, and it is a lie from one end to the other. How do I know? I can show you the history that proves it. Not white man's history. The history from the people who were in Albany and Western Australia that made and dictated their own history. The curator of the museum in Albany took it all down and hid it. It was the original people that were in Albany. They knew that governor brought linguists from England, taught them English so that they could teach the people the truth and the heritage, of these people. Because he was interested. Was he a racist? Absolutely no. We are all one race. That's why they took race out of that particular section, so that they got control at their whim in everything we did. They could go to their parliament tomorrow as soon as they're sworn in, if we don't stop them, and pass a law saying everybody with black skin and white skin's got to get out of this country because you weren't born here. You weren't native to this country. Because they took out that requirement. That's what they did it for. They gave themselves total control. Because the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority is whose? Ours. Yeah, Rayleigh, I understand what you're saying. Indigenous people claim they go back 30 years of being First Nation. There's never been a First Nation except Egypt. This blows them out of the water. Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm not getting into an Aboriginal debate because this wasn't for that. It was to show you that none of us exist lawfully in this country, according to the modification done by the political parties, which they've concealed. And all they did is rule out the one little section. And you never picked it up because you've never looked. It took a lot of research to come back to that. And just looking at the words they've used in the preamble of the Green Constitution. That's why in 2019, when I threw the Green Constitution on the counter and said, this book is going to put you personally behind bars for the rest of your life. That's when he took his stuff and left. Because he proved to me that he knew what I was talking about. He went on and got sworn in as a judge, knowing full well he was sitting in treason. He was attainted of treason because I accused him of it. What got him off the hook? 30A of the Fair Work Australia Act. He's personally responsible for everything. But they're not admitting their trading companies. Oh, we've only got an ABN number because of GST. Well, goods and services tax is too subject to tax in the One Tax Act. It's invalid. Who says so? Section 51, subsection 2 of the annotated constitution. The red one. The proper one. And in relation to section 26, it says exactly the same thing in the green one as the red one. The rest of it is crap in the green one. It alters with different words meaning different things. If you're able to comprehend what I'm talking about in relation to that, and some English professor may well be able to look at it and say, no, they changed everything with one or two words. But as for Dodgy Roger Cook and Mark McGowan, stop looking at them as a person. They can be the loveliest person on earth, but they still got knives digging them in your back at the same time. The Aboriginal Heritage Act, that guy that went to court, listen to what I've got to say. Take that law that they put in place and throw that case out of court because it's unconstitutional, therefore invalid. And that magistrate or judge has to stand trial for his decision. That's treason. I don't care what he thinks. You want to drag me before you, and I'll show you where you are going to jail. You are now a traitor. You committed an act of treason by doing exactly what you did. You went against the Constitution as I've just described. So you smart alecks that work for the DPP in Western Australia, you did not remove my case because of my age or the fact I'm a litigant in person. You removed it because I was going to a voir dire in front of a grand jury to determine which constitution was lawful, and that scared you because you were lost before you even got there. You lost before you got there. Yeah, I know what a Gvadir is. Yeah, we all belong to the land. You got that right. Yeah, well, your description's a little bit out there, but it's true. Absolutely. So that's how it should be. I'll leave it there. I'm not going any further with this because I need you to listen to this video. If it has to be screwed into your head, understand we have total authority. We the people, all of us. Not Kangaroo Jack in his mouth and everything else. And by the way, your uncle looks like he's a real character. I'd like to meet him one day. And even your mother, if it is your mother and uncle. But even if it isn't, they're nice people. I've met thousands of them. And no, I'm not against you, never have been. I've got my own kids and grandkids. And they're the ones suffering at the hands of the lying, thieving traitors that call themselves politicians. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. For my kids, my grandkids, their kids, and all the kids to come in the future. I wish everybody the best of luck. But get off your butts and kick them out of the place. I don't talk like that to that person. I'm not even going to get in that. Look, I'm not going to get into debate on what they're saying because I don't agree. Whereas the people is everybody. That's it. There's no exception.